Everybody, good morning. It's Jean here. Jean's Block Party 2019. If you followed along from my previous video for block number 11, you saw block number 12, which is a real delightful little block. Very simple. It's a 9-patch. Just you need 2 high contrast fabrics, and you don't have to worry about the intricate bows because they just come together real easily. So this is block number 12 of our block party. I hope you're enjoying this. Yeah, we had a block number 11, which you've just seen this week. So this is block 11 and this is block 12. I'm using my burgundy and my creams for this block. As you know, I'm changing it up from bright white and red, bright white and bright red, to more of the burgundy and cream. So my quilt's going to have a lot of different interests, dark, light, but they're all in the same red and white colorways. So that's our block number 12, which this tutorial to follow is easy. I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you next week with block 13 and 14. All right, folks. See ya. Bye. Oh, I forgot. I'm supposed to mention that you should like this video. I completely forgot that in the last one. As you know, I've been having some issues anyway with YouTube, but like I don't ever say that, but like you must like the video. Malia was telling me, and hit the bell and ring it, and I don't know, brush your teeth, do whatever. But like you should like and comment and a thumbs up. That's right, the thumbs up. So whatever that means. If you like my video. Okay, thanks. See ya. So we're on block number 12, and I'm just going to go back again to basics and show you how I'm going to cut my block. Now for my fabric A, you'll have seen this. This is the fabric A is the bow, as it were, on this block, hopefully. For fabric A, I'm using fat quarters for this because I have to cut 4 3.5-inch squares. Now I could get them out of my 10-inch squares, but I'm using my fat quarters because I can't get my I don't have enough fabric for my fabric B, so I'm just using fat quarters for this. So I'm going to cut 4 3.5-inch squares. Now what I've done is I have cleaned up my edge here. I folded this in half. I have folded my fat quarter in half on the longer side, and again with my Fiskars ruler and my other ruler, I'm going to find my 3.5-inch mark right there. I'm going to butt that right up. People are saying, oh, do you really have to use 2 rulers? Certainly you don't have to use 2 rulers. People cut all different ways. They use the lines on the mat. They cut their fabric this way. They cut their fabric this way. All sorts of ways. But this is how I do it, and this is how I'm teaching you to do it if you wish. So I'm going to now cut this 3.5-inch strip here, and then I'm going to lay this on my line. This will be a simple 4-patch, but it will be an interesting one, hopefully. So I'm going to just trim up this edge here. I'm going to line up my ruler line here. Is that in the frame? Yeah. I'm going to line this up here. Oh no, where is it? I messed up. Line that up just to clean up that edge there. And now I want 4 3.5-inch squares. And I've done this before, but I thought, well, I'll show you again. If you need a reminder, you're going to find your 3.5-inch and 3.5-inch there. And I just go along. I need 4 of these. My 3.5-inch there. It's nice and square. And then 3.5-inch. My 3.5-inch. Now from this piece here, I need to cut 4 2-inch squares. I don't know if I can get 4 2-inch squares out of this one here. No, I can't. But I'll have to just go back to this. But I could just sort of fold that in half. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that. I'm just going to cut this bit. Again, this is using sort of scraps. Now to cut, this I just have to cut 2. what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this way, because that's a selvage over there. This is more like a scrap I'm using. Line it up, and then I'm going to find my 2" by 2" square, and then I'll just do 2 cuts. Oh, I may be able to get it out of there. Maybe not, because that's a selvage. Yeah, that's a selvage. So I'm just gonna. Oh, I might be able to. Let me just see. So I'm going to cut a 2" square. So I've got 2 2" squares. Now let me just see if I can get. I think I can without using that selvage there. Oh, I can. Yeah. Yep, I can. So I'm going to cut 2 more out of that scrap. A little bit, and 2 inches, just a little. Yep, there we go. So there are my 4 2" squares for fabric A. So that's all my fabric A, and then I'm going to come back down, and out of fabric B I want to cut 5 3.5" squares. And again, this is on the long part of my fat quarter here. I've trimmed that, I've made that nice and straight there. And I'm just going to cut my 3.5" strip here. Again, seeing it's nice here, up here, and it's nice there, down there. Holding my ruler. My ruler's nice and straight. Oops. My ruler's nice and straight on the line. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to do that, pull it out like that, tidy up that corner, this end here, and then with my 2 rulers do my five 3.5" squares. Again, this might be like watching, oops, what am I doing? This might be like watching paint dry, but I just thought you're still beginners. You might need reminders now and again on cutting. Some people, like my friend Jen, she has a difficult time cutting. That's her sort of nemesis. She always says, maybe because she's tall, we were talking about that. She cuts on a high countertop. I'm short, so I find that this height table is fine for me. I'm bending over slightly, but it doesn't bother me. Whereas a lot of people like a cutting height table, like up here. So you would be cutting here. Jen is much taller. So she had it when she was coming here before. She was having a hard time cutting on my lower mat, but I'm like, well, on my lower table, I should say. But I'm like, I'm short and fat, you're tall and thin, So anyway, this is our cutting instructions. Now, very, very simple 9 packs, and I'll show you what we do next. But these are our cutting instructions right here. What we're going to do next is start constructing our bows, as it were. Now we're going to take our fabric A and we're going to isolate the 4 2" squares, okay? And you're going to take 3 of the fabric B, 3 of the 3.5" squares, okay? First of all, just put these aside. First of all, what we're going to do is I've already done 2 of them. On your fabric A 2" squares, you're going to draw a diagonal line with a marker, with a pen, with a pencil on the diagonal. Mine's a little dark, so I'm going to make it as dark as I can to see it. On the diagonal, corner to corner, on my fabric A. Now, with 1 each of these units here of my fabric B, on a corner, going from the center, now we did this last week, going from the center of the block to the center, not from the corner to the corner, remember, from the center of the block to the center, what are we going to do? we are going to square up that square really nice. We're going to take that over. You're going to secure it somehow on the corners here. We're going to take that over to our machine, center to center. Hopefully you can see that. The center of the block to the center of the block. A nice square corner. You're going to attach that where it's not in the sewing area. You're going to attach that, and now what we're going to do, just like we did last week on these two, we're going to stitch right 1 or 2 threads inside, nearest to the corner, but basically I'm saying stitch on the line. And then what are we going to do? When it's stitched, then we turn over and we've made a nice little corner block. But for now, I want you to secure it because it's a little fiddly bit. And you're going to stitch on the line, but maybe 1 thread inside to the corner. And that allows the fibers, remember, to turn over. So I'm going to do that now with these 2. Now you're saying, well, what do you do with this one? What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and sew that. But what I'm going to go do now is I'm going to do the exact same thing, but for this 3rd block here, I'm going to put one in one corner, center to center. The other one exactly the same, center to center, not corner to corner. Put that line exactly the same way. So now, scratch it together to make your nice square corner. So now this 3rd 3.5-inch square has 2 corner pieces on it. And we're going to stitch on the inside, nearest to the corner, 1 thread off of that line. So I'm going to go and stitch that now. My units, I'm over at my machine, and like we did last week, I'm going to put my needles down actually. I'm going to put my presser foot, I'm going to put my needle right 1 hair, 1 thread on the inside of that line. Basically I'm saying to you, sew on the line. That's what an instruction would do. But I'm just telling you to do very carefully, just 1 thread inside that line. And then right off. This is the double one. And then I'm going to come back here, and it's into the corner that you want to stitch it. You want to stay inside that line, not out, not over here. Just you're stitching on the line, but 1 thread next to that line. And again, you see I'm going slowly. It's not a rush. And then right off. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing with these ones that just have the 1 on them. Now I can chain piece that one. I'll just put that right under there. And then right off. Now, I'm going to take this out of my machine. Take my pins out. And I'm going to trim away from this corner. Oh, what you want to do first is you want to put that over and see if you've made a nice square. Look how lovely and square that corner is. So now that I know it's sewn properly, I just want to take a pair of scissors and cut about 1/4 inch off. Oops, I didn't check that, but I think it's pretty good. Yeah, it's very good. So check your corners. Perfect. And perfect. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go set these seams, and I'm just going to roll, because this is on the bias, be careful. I'm going to push that over, nudge that up, and I'm going to just press these seams to the dark side, and that's our unit right there. And then I'll come back. Now we're ready to put our block together. Again, a simple 9 patch, but it's such an interesting one because of the, like a double bow. So now again, orientation is key here. The unit that you did with the 2 corners goes right in the middle.
all right? And then the white ones, in this regard, go on the outside in your corners, okay, your top corners. But you have two, oh, excuse me, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. This one here, what we're doing is we're making the 4 corners in a row here, okay? This one goes down here. Again, orientation is very important on this one. Now this one, we're just going to fill in our bow. Mine is very dark. It's a very contrasting. You can see it come alive. There's my bow there, and there is my bow there. So there are my 2 bows. Simple 9-patch, simple stitching today, this week for block number 12. But now what we're going to do, again, simple 9-patch. We're going to be stitching this over to here, pretty sides together, pretty sides. These are all 3.5-inch squares. If you need to, you can square these up like we did for block number 11, like we're doing. But this is our orientation of our block. We want to make sure here that when we go to nest our seams, again, like block 11, let the fabric tell you where it wants to go, because this is to the dark, but this is to the light. We're going to be nesting this seam here, and this is where 4 points come together, right here and right here. But if you've sewn them and if you've squared them properly, then those 4 points will come together beautifully. Now I'm going to go and stitch my block together. So I'm on my ironing board, and I just wanted to show you, I've just stitched my 3 units together. And again, I apologize if I'm being a bit redundant, but again, repetition for emphasis. Now remember, I was telling you sometimes I haven't pressed anything, I haven't ironed anything, I haven't set any seams. Remember I tell you how let the fabric talk to you and tell you where it wants to go. In this respect, it's interesting. I want my seams to alternate, okay? And this top unit here is basically telling me it wants to go onto the inside. So I'm going to work with this one right now. I'm going to set these seams. I'm going to set that seam there. And I'm going to press, I'm going to just give that a little spritz with water. I'm going to press those seams to the dark side. Interesting, it's going to the dark side this week. Because my fabric sort of told me that that's where it wanted to go. And it's laying beautifully. Beautifully. So you can see that, right? Now, very interesting. I'm working with my center unit here. Okay, there's my top. Now my center unit is doing what? It's telling me that this seam here wants to go to the outside. So that's interesting, because if I press it to the outside, then my seams here will nest beautifully. So I'm going to press that to the outside. I'm going to set that seam. And I think by now, if you're on this sort of road with me, you'll realize what, you know, I keep reiterating about the ironing and the pressing, but I think you'll realize that according to, if you're beginners, according to the blocks that you're sending into my webpage, oh my word, your blocks are beautiful, they're laying flat, and don't you think, you tell me, don't you think that it's because you're really learning, if you are really beginners, you're really learning the importance of pressing and ironing. Again, this is ironing, what I'm doing. A lot of quilters press, they do this. I iron, and I'm very careful, as you can see. I'm very careful not to mess with, not to stretch my fabrics. Now this one, again, I've not done anything with this. It comes right off the sewing machine. Again, I'm going to press these seams here. I'm going to set these seams. Setting the seam sinks the stitches into your fabric, and that's telling me that it wants to go to the inside. And then when we sew this together, I'm just pulling gently, not stretching anything. And then look how beautifully that block is going to come together. what I'm going to do now, there's my 3 units. What I'm going to do now, there's my bows. You can see my 2 bows made up. I'm going to take my top one over. I'm going to nest these seams right here because we've just ironed them beautifully. I'm going to find that seam, that intersection right there. I'm going to find that intersection right there. I'm going to stitch along right here. Pop that up. I'm going to do the same thing, pretty sides together. I'm going to stitch this seam, and those nest beautifully because we've listened to the fabric. Oh, listen to me. I sound like so airy-fairy. Oh, we listen to the fabric. But it really, you know, sometimes it really does tell you where it wants to go, and your seams are going to be beautifully nested together. So there, ta-da, is our block number 12. 2 like bows. We've done stars and bows this week, 11 and 12. And again, I've used my sort of creamy and the burgundy colorways, as I was saying last week. Next week I'll do my bright whites and my bright reds, just to add a lot of dimension to my red and white quilt. So there's our block. Oh, let me just see. I always forget to do that. And it's almost perfect. There's just slight little shred there, and on the top here to make it nice and square, just a little sliver there, just a little tiny sliver, and there we have a perfect 9.5 inch block out of our 2 fabrics. Interesting, 9 patches, but like, isn't it interesting how you can make so many different looks to our block? We're basically doing 9 patches. I will get, you know, maybe 16 patches, like a 4 grid, 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller units as we go along, but it's still early days. I think the 9 patch and the 4 patches make interesting blocks so far. I think the blocks that you've sent in are just beautiful. So there, folks, is block number 12. You've seen block number 11, which I will show you over here. These are our 2 blocks for this week. We have our blocks. I'll put up the instructions here for block number 12 here. But yeah, very, very pretty. I like our stars and our bows this week. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this 11 and 12, and I will see you next week. All right, folks, bye.